In this video, we talked about generative adversarial networks. A generative adversarial network has two parts, including a generator that creates examples, which we can imagine like a forger, and a discriminator that attempts to differentiate between the generated examples or fake example and the real examples. And so we can imagine this as an expert. If we use image examples, the network should be convolutional neural networks. We train both networks at the same time. Gradually, they get better and better by competing each other. Generative adversarial networks are popular for applications such as generating artificial faces, fashion styles, home types, floor plans, etc. It's also used for generating images for data augmentation. The discriminator in the generative adversarial network is simply a classifier which tries to distinguish real examples from the fake examples created by the generator. In the illustration, you can see the real example and the fake example. The fake example is created by the generator. So given the real examples and the fake examples, the discriminator, which is a classifier, tries to distinguish the real data from the fake data. It then computes the discriminator loss and then updates the width of the discriminator using backpropagation. Another loss is the generator loss. The generator loss is used to update the generator width so that the generator can learn to create fake data and can make the discriminator classify its output as real data. Now let's see what the loss functions are. We know the binary cross entropy loss function. For an example x, y is the target, which could be 0 or 1, and y hat is the estimate of y. So we have this as the binary cross entropy loss function. Now let's look at the discriminator loss. For an instance x from the data, the real data, then the target is 1. And the weighted value of the target is d of x, and d is for the discriminator. Taking x as the input, then replace this in here. We can see that the second term is gone. The term left is just this. And that's what we see here. Now with the noise z, the generator creates g of z, which is then used as the input to the discriminator. And because this is a fake example, so the target is 0. Replacing this in here, then we can see that the first term is gone in this case, and only the second term is left, which is what we see here. So the loss for classifying the real and the fake instances would be a combination of those, and basically we need to minimize this objective function, and in another way of saying, we maximize this objective function. Now we talked about the generator loss. Here we use the same objective or the loss function, and we minimize the loss function, which means that it tries to make d of g of z to be like 1. Another way of saying try to cheat the discriminator that this is a real example. So we need to minimize this objective function. And actually, we just need the second term because the generator doesn't touch the first term at all. So this is a loss function for the generator that we need to minimize. This slide shows the whole algorithms from the paper, the original paper, and that you can take a look